geek. Talking baseball every week. Because they're Gleeman and the Geek.
And welcome to Gleeman and the Geek, presented by Black Stack Brewing, family owned and operated now in Liquor Store Review. I really like these guys. You're going to like their beer. I'm John Bonus of Twins Daily. With me, Aaron Gleeman and the Geek.
How come you never say that about me?
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm going to dodge that question. I'm going to change the subject quickly.
Good job. They say that's the best way to dodge a question is to say to the person, I'm going to dodge that question. And they go, oh, it like throws them off. They don't know what to do. Great work as usual. Okay. Well, I'm
how about the Minnesota Twins, Aaron Gleeman?
Yeah, that doesn't work. I don't want to talk about them. So that doesn't work. Yeah, you're Minnesota Twins now.
How about them Golden Gophers, Aaron Gleeman?
Sure. We're a gopher. We're going to steal Chips Coggins and Guardsy and Ryan Birds' deal. Yeah, it was a very weird series in Toronto because Tuesday was a great win.
Well,
Tuesday was one of those wins where Mickey Gasper has his first good game ever.
Sure.
And Matt Wallner hits a 3-run homer, and it was an ugly game. I'm not saying it was a
right,
finely
I was going to
tuned.
say.
But, I mean, they're all ugly games at this point for this team. And you get a good win against the first-place team that's been probably the best team in the American League over the past couple of months at least. And then you come back Wednesday, and you get several different leads. Like, they had a lead, a different type of lead every couple of innings in that game.
Were they ever behind until that 8th inning? I don't think they were.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe 1-0 or something. But
no, because Buxton hit the lead off.
Well, right. And you think, oh my God, they're about to, after losing 2 out of 3 to a White Sox team that is the worst team in the American League, they're going to win 2 out of 3 from maybe the second. I think they have the second best record, but I might call the Blue Jays the best team in the American League at this point, through this point of the season, given the competition in that division and everything.
Sure. And
just when I was thinking that on the road in Toronto, it's like, wow, that's impressive. Then it just, meltdown city, which, we've talked about this over the last several weeks where it's like, I like to think coming into this, because we knew, or at least we expected this to be the situation post trade deadline where you had, especially bullpen wise, I actually expected more consistent blown leads, although that requires getting blown leads. So maybe that was part of it that I didn't factor in. It's hard to blow a lead if you're down, 4-0 in the second inning.
Good point.
Which has kind of been their MO over the last couple of weeks. But, I think the lack of bullpen, like having no bullpen, has caught up to them. But we kind of expected that. And, I would say that the defense has been a little sloppier than I had expected / hoped. The base running has been sloppier, but also they're now clearly trying to really push guys to go on the bases, and that's fine in terms of like experimenting. It's not, I still don't think they have a roster that's really well suited for that, which is why you see some of the sloppiness and the outs on the bases and stuff. But there's been some good moments on that. They ran pretty well overall against the Blue Jays. But the bullpen, and I mean, the starting pitching hasn't been amazing or anything, obviously. And then, but now the bullpen's starting to look kind of like what we thought the bullpen would look like this whole time.
Right.
Which is, it's not like some big criticism.
A patched together series of the DFA candidates.
Right. It's like you took the Saints bullpen, which by the way wasn't a good AAA bullpen.
Right.
And you moved half of it to the Twins bullpen. And, initially they had some success, but they've now overall. So yeah, I mean, I guess Wednesday's the type of loss that if they're even on the fringes of the wild card, I know you, John, you're coming on this show and you're talking about, is that in the mix for the worst loss of the season?
You are correct.
And now it's like, whatever. I mean, it still stings in the sense that you go, oh my God, like what, believe me, as it was happening and in the immediate moments afterward, I was like, God.
Did I invest 2.5 hours of my life into this? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a completely, you can brush it off. Now now I view it more like, okay, well, that was bad, but also you expect it to be bad. What did you expect? So that doesn't
expect Genesis Cabrera to be a lockdown 8th inning reliever.
No. And actually there were in that series in general, but certainly the Wednesday loss, which what did it end up 9-8 or 8-7? I think
9-8. I think.
There were a bunch of moments in that where exactly what we talked about on the last, I think, Patreon episode. We do, by the way, if you like this show, which we call the Friday Free Show, We also do Monday and Wednesday shows typically on Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/Gleeman. I think on the last one, what we were saying is the ideal thing, right? And this is a very hard needle to thread, but the ideal thing is when you have a bad team like this that is going to lose a bunch of games in a bad fashion, which we've seen, is that the 6 or 8 or maybe 10 guys on the roster that you have a pretty good sense are going to be part of the future of the team, which is just to say beyond this season. You want those guys to perform pretty well.
Right.
And you want, if you're going to lose, you want it to be the Genesis Cabreras of the world, the,
Right.
random bench guys of the world, that sort of thing. And I actually thought, Tuesday and Wednesday, Buxton's hitting homers,
Yeah.
and Matt Wallner's hitting homers, and some of the
Keisch
pitching.
doubling down the line in the ninth
Right.
inning, sure.
And then it's like, okay, well, they blew the game because a bunch of random relievers who probably won't be in the majors next season blew it. Now, it's still the Twins, and it's still, you watched it, and you want to, it's frustrating to just be like, oh God. But, it's easier to brush off overall because you don't have expectations. Or I'm just speaking for myself. I'm sure there are people listening to this who are like, it was not easy to brush off. I punched a hole in my wall. Well,
the remote, it's thrown across the room. And
Google anger management or something. I don't know. The Twins are now 9-16.
we are not the people to ask about anger management.
We're not the people to ask about anything, honestly. Like, I wouldn't ask myself advice on anything. Management. I wouldn't ask about.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The Twins are now 9-16 since the deadline, which is pretty bad. They are 13-24 since the All-Star break, which is also pretty bad, and they are 34-53 since the winning streak of 13 games ended in mid-May, and that is the worst record in the American League over, 87 games. That's what we've gotten to at this point. And it's not, it didn't sneak up on anybody, I don't think. But it really, looking back on it, and I'm sure like even years from now, if we have some reason to dust off this season and look back at it, which I hope to never do again, but I'm sure it will happen. It is going to be strange to be like, so wait, in May, they won 13 games in a row. And then immediately after that, they were the worst team in baseball for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's similar to last year, right?
Well, no. I mean, last year they played well after the winning streak for several months.
Well,
and then they completely collapsed.
you're right on the timing, but still, we went immediately from like, oh, there's 17 games, 500, and guaranteed to be in the postseason to, oh, they're the worst team in baseball.
True, but it just didn't time up with the streak. But I mean, you're right. If you want to fold that in, which I know Baldelli told me not to, but I'm sorry, Rocco, I'm going to. That's the podcaster's prerogative. They call that. You finished 12-27 last year, and now this. I don't know. And by the way, if they would like to avoid their first 90-loss season since 2016, which is the year they fired Terry Ryan and replaced him then that offseason with Derek Falvey, they have to avoid those 90 losses, they would have to finish 13-16 or better. And I know you're the optimistic one, people view you as, John, but what would you put the odds of this team right now finishing 13-16?
I will point out that immediately afterwards, I set their over-under at 70.5.
So you're saying you're not the optimistic one. You're saying I was
not the optimistic one after after that trade deadline.
Well, here's the thing. Somebody has to be the optimistic one in any duo. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you find 2 4'8" people, and somebody's the tall one out of the two. Like I always say, you're the best looking co-host on this show, John. Like that. That's just how it works.
I agree. I can't argue with that.
Take your role as the Brad Pitt of the Gleeman and the Geek podcast and show some damn optimism, John. Come on, let's go, buddy.
I'll be optimistic about 2026. How about that?
Will you at this point? Yeah.
We'll see. I'm working on it.
Okay, you're working through it. You're going to optimism management classes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That you do need that optimism management
There
classes.
you go, right.
I'd like to tamper.
That we can listen to the podcast on. Anger management, no, we're not going to be able to help you with your anger management issues. But optimist management, I can help with.
I do like that you have your Gopher football shirt on because you're on the bandwagon now. The mighty Buffalo. What are they? Bisons?
Bills? No, Bulls. They're Buffalo Bulls.
Well, that's annoying. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't think they're going to finish 13-16. I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't lose at this point 93, 94, 95 games, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they don't have a particularly easy schedule the rest of the way too. Like they still have White Sox uh coming up here,
Right.
one final series, although as we saw, the White Sox are capable of beating them too. But after that, Padres before that, which starts
Right.
tonight,
Yeah.
are a very tough team, and then they still have like Phillies. Although Cleveland's looking a lot easier. But anyway, they if you're choosing to view it optimistically, like Brad Pitt over there, you remind me a little bit more of Brad Pitt's brother, Stu.
Stupid. Very good.
One of my jokes that I think my grandpa taught me. But I saw an opening, John, and I went for it, buddy.
Go for it.
I was hoping you wouldn't get it and I could just whisper it, stupid. Anyway, if you're choosing to view it a little more optimistically, they are now in the third best lottery spot. Because, as we've mentioned, the Rockies, who have the worst record, are ineligible for the lottery because they've had horrible records multiple seasons, which I don't know. How do you feel about that? I don't think we talked about that. Like,
I like
kind of
it,
fixing the lottery
I
or
think.
de-incentivizing flat out pure tanking is something that pretty much every sport, I know, especially the
Right.
NBA, I'm a big basketball fan, have really struggled with, and they've flattened the odds and they've done all the things, but
Yeah.
really, like, there's no way to de-incentivize it other than to make people ineligible for the top picks, which baseball has now done. Like, if you're in the lottery, it depends if you're a revenue sharing team or not. But like, if you're in 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row, you're then ineligible. And that's why the White Sox last year had the literal worst record in the history of modern baseball and weren't eligible to be in the
Right.
lottery.
Right.
And the Rockies are similar this year. I mean, just a horrendous team. And I think they're going to pick 10th at best. So, and the Nationals are also.
I don't think it would work for other leagues because in other leagues you don't have the incentive necessarily to tank multiple years in a row. Baseball's kind of unique that way because it feels like the competitive because there's no salary cap. Yeah, it's sort of a team level. You can see a lot more variation year to year in a lot of those other leagues in terms of like we're going to be bad for 3 or 4 years and then jump up, or we're going to be, we're going to have, we were anticipated to be 5-11, but we're actually going to be 9-7 and sneak in or something like that.
Well, that's part just because there's such a small sample in football.
That might
you
be
win a
part of it.
couple extra
Could be
games,
part
you
of it.
make the playoffs. I also think the fact that it's uncapped, you can. I mean, this is why we think tanking and rebuilds, or at least I think, are sort of a sham.
Right.
In baseball, you go through like these scorched earth, 5 year. We're going to lose 100 games a year. We're not going to spend any money. We're going to get draft picks. Owners save hundreds of millions of dollars doing that.
Right.
In football, you can't do that. There's a baseline you have to spend in both
Right.
NFL and NBA, and so I think that maybe plays a part in it too. But
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think that's a huge part of it. And so as a result, there is definitely an incentive to tank multiple years in baseball that there isn't necessarily, and that's what this deals with, right? Like this doesn't stop you from tanking one particular year. You can tank two
Right.
years in a row, right? It's just after 2 years of being in the lottery, then the third year you're ineligible. Is that the way it works?
well, it depends if you're a revenue sharing team or not. If you're not,
Okay.
it's 3 years. If you are, it's two. They're trying to punish the
got
big
it.
market teams too. Although the big market teams rarely tank for multiple. It's not like
Right.
the Dodgers are going to take a
course.
big step back or something.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it sucks if you're a Rockies fan, but also
Right.
I think it's the reason that I hesitate to say I've given the Twins credit for this because I don't want to give credit for something if it doesn't really it isn't functionally like well done, but I will give this regime credit in the sense that they've taken some steps back. Like 2021 they traded
Sure.
Nelson Cruz for Joe Ryan and some other, they traded Barrios and all that. And obviously this year is a massive step back. I don't mean
Right.
step back record wise. I mean step back like team building wise.
Right.
But this is really just the second time in 8 seasons with this regime that they've sold, really sold at the deadline. And in 2021, they attempted to then come back and win.
Right.
They didn't, and that's obviously a big question mark here with this team. It's something we've talked about. Like, will they continue selling this offseason? Will they actually attempt to win? But I think teams and front offices it's in baseball, it's like, yeah, let's just go scorched earth. We'll get what we can for the veterans. We'll go 5 years with low payrolls. Owners
Right.
will love that. We'll pocket $50 million a year, whatever. We'll build up the farm system. We'll get a bunch of top 5 picks, a bunch of number 1 picks, whatever. And you come out the other end, like the Orioles did that. It hasn't worked that great for the Orioles, but like Houston did that. It worked amazingly for Houston. The
Right.
Cubs did that. It worked pretty well. White Sox did it. Didn't work that well, but maybe this time it'll work well. Like it's mixed bag. But what I always come back to is like from the fan perspective. Yeah, any fan base wants to start dreaming on the future. I mean,
Sure.
Twins fans are doing that. Twins fans have been doing that for 60 years. And yeah, it is fun to be like, oh, they got a bunch of high picks. They got a bunch of top 100 prospects. We can start to envision this lineup and this,
I mean,
rotation.
we went through that with this podcast from basically 2012
Absolutely.
to 2017, right?
But that doesn't guarantee anything, as
Right.
this version of the Twins shows, because they were terrible for 6 years, basically at the start of when we started doing the podcast. And what did they get? A couple of division titles and 3 playoff wins or whatever out of it. And now they're back in a bad place again. But beyond that, I always just think back to the fans and like, you like waste a half decade of everyone's time,
Right. Yeah.
and money and energy. And if you do that for 6 years and then don't have success and then do it again, 5 years after that, you've
Right.
basically just wasted an entire generation of fans, like of like building a fan base.
Right.
If a kid is 10 and his parents take him to a couple of games and he falls in love with baseball, which is the whole goal of the sport, basically. It's why we're sitting here now, is because that happened.
It's
to
the
both of us.
business model, just so
Right.
we're clear.
That is-
Yeah.
and more
Right.
with everything, but I would say more so with baseball than any other sport. That is the business model. Just get the hooks in them, and for whatever reason, believe me, I've been trying to remove these.
I was
hooks.
going to say we're speaking as two people with deep hooks, so maybe
Yeah.
maybe the basketball people feel the same way, or the football people feel the
Yeah,
same way.
I
But
mean, it happened to me. I went to a bunch of games. I remember at the Metrodome in '89, I think, to watch the Wolves when I was 6, and they were the worst team anybody had ever seen
Right.
ever. And I came away from that being like, well, I'll watch basketball for the next 80 years, I guess. So it's the same thing. But then I wonder, like, okay, if you're 10 and you showed up at a Twins game in 2011, and then for the next 6 years, they were the worst team in the American League. Are you going to, when you're 16, 17, be a lifelong Twins fan at that
Right.
point? And then they look back and they go, well, why are we struggling to sell tickets? And why is the fan morale bad? And it's like, well, because you wasted everyone's time for 6 years. And now you're maybe wasting everyone's time again. And I think that is the danger of the kind of scorched earth rebuild, and why my assumption is they're not going to do that. But if they do that, it will be the first time in quite a while that they've sort of intentionally done that. Sometimes you sort of Mr. Magoo your way into a scorched earth rebuild just through being really, really bad at things.
Sure, right, that's right.
Which I think kind of happened to the Twins in 2011 through like 2016, I would say. But they weren't intentionally do that. It just all crumbled in a way that they had no idea kind of how to build it back up. But so yeah, that's the lottery. I did look for the first time yesterday at Baseball America's 2026 draft rankings,
All right.
of being like, is this a good, it is considered a good year. And there's like, a handful of guys who are, it's not like 2023 where there were 5 guys that could be the number 1 pick, but it's a pretty good top 5, top 10. So maybe that'll help the Twins.
And we will revisit that draft from a few years ago, where there were 5 top picks in a little bit.
Yes. Before we talk about some actual news, notes, performances, etc., about your hometown 9 Minnesota Twins, let's hit our first couple of sponsors, one of which you can see on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, you're really missing out. Stu Pitt over there and Brad looks great today. John's got his maroon and gold shirt on.
That's right.
I don't really have anything. I got a collared shirt on. That's something that people rarely see, I guess.
But you're missing the big presented by Black Stack Brewing,
Yeah.
which I met with them this week. I gotta tell you, I just really like those guys.
Did you meet at the brewery, by the way?
No, we did not. We met at Brixworth, which they also is also part of their family.
Let me
venture,
rephrase
so
that. Did
pretty
you
close.
meet somewhere where their beer was available? to
Oh
you?
yes,
Right. So that's why you like those. I mean, we like them in general, but
right.
okay, I got you.
And on top of them just having good beer, like they're just good. They're just good people, very family oriented. Like they're South Minneapolis people. It was really nice to meet with them. Just prior to the events of this week in South Minneapolis, they're huge South Minneapolis boosters. They're from South High School. Like the owner was the soccer coach of the general manager at South High School, and they're just building a great organization. And on top of that, they're create great beer, and that has been the thing that people liked about Black Stack Brewing. What people didn't like about Black Stack Brewing, it was hard to find. But about a year and a half ago, they switched distributors. And so now you can find it all over the state of Minnesota, from Grand Marais to Rochester, Winona to Fargo. You can find the local 755 New England IPA. You can find the Slopes Pilsner. You can find the Pull Tabs Pale Ale. You can find the Uncut Jams, the Strawberry Rhubarb Sour. You can also, you're also going to be able to find that stuff at my daughter's wedding, by the way, because we're going to do that. You can also find, by the way, right, if you go to the State Fair this weekend, the Metrodome IPA, which is at the Ballpark Cafe. That's not available in liquor stores yet, but I think it will be after the State Fair, Metrodome IPA, because they're baseball people. Like, these people have been supporters of Gleam, not presenting sponsors, but supporters of Gleeman and the Geek for a long time. And on top of that, now, because the distributor in Minnesota has been going so well, you can find them in Iowa and in Wisconsin and in North and South Dakota, and even Arizona, Washington, and soon Florida. Soon Florida.
Can drink it in Fort Myers maybe during spring training.
That would make just in time for Phil Miller to retire and not go to Fort Myers anymore. They're going to have Black Stack Brewing out there. I'm so disappointed for him. But anyway,
I think he's going to be in Fort Myers. I don't think he can quit it that easily. But yeah, go check out Black Stack. You can get it in person, 94 and 280, or like John said, check out your local liquor store. And if they don't have it, tell them to get it. Super easy. Black Stack, our presenting sponsor. Our next sponsor is also a longtime sponsor, also Minnesota people.
Yeah, and
which is RotoWire.
Building a great organization, one that we've liked for 20 years. RotoWire is Peter Schuler was the founder of RotoWire, and he was also a Gleam and Geek listener. He was a supporter of Twins Geek back before when it was twinsgeek.com, and he would build like a special RSS feed just for
that I hold against him supporting you, because it created this monster that we see today. However, John and I were just in a fantasy football draft.
Yes, we were.
Where John lied to our audience and told them with the second pick in a dynasty league he was going to take Justin Jefferson. He did not take Justin Jefferson. He took Bijan Robinson. He took,
I think so. Yes, and that was because I used one of the features of RotoWire that we talk about, but I've never used before for my where you sync up RotoWire with your league. Like, you basically put in your
all the settings.
Scoring,
roster, everything.
Yeah, you don't have to put in any of that stuff. It goes and finds it for you. You just put in your user ID, and it goes and sets everything up and creates a customized draft sheet just for your league. And I've been in this other league for 20 years, but it's kind of a half league. It's just a bunch of friends kind of screwing around. Very different rules than what we had this year. This year with this new league, it's PPR and it's Dynasty and it's all this other stuff. Generated a draft list for me immediately, and I was just like, oh, great, I'm just going to follow this draft list instead.
And if you also have a draft or drafts coming up right before the season, which I'm sure you do, you can go to rotowire.com, use the code Gleeman at checkout. You get 20% off any subscription. If you're looking for draft help, you can get the 1 month plan, do mock drafts, do customized cheat sheets like John talked about.
Yeah.
Or if you want the best value, you want to stick around, you can use it for baseball. You can use it for basketball. We use it, I know, like John said, for 20 years. I don't even necessarily use it for fantasy. I just use it because they have a player database that has player news.
Yes.
You can go look up injuries and all sorts of other stuff. So you can get the 6-month plan or the annual plan to get through full seasons. That's rotowire.com. Use the code Gleeman. You get 20% off checkout of any subscription. And you can just use it for your fantasy drafts this week. That's right. It'll help you out. Okay. Let's talk a little on maybe rotation. Let's start with that. There's some news on that front, or maybe almost news is a better way to phrase it on that front. So Pablo Lopez has made 2 rehab appearances with the Saints. There was some speculation that he could come back for this upcoming week, like Monday, Tuesday against the White Sox at Target Field. I think more likely because his last rehab start was a little bit underwhelming. Velocity was down a little, allowed a few runs. It wasn't like, oh my God, red flag or anything, but he just didn't get through 5 innings. He didn't get through whatever. I think he might make one more AAA start. I'll find that out today. I'm assuming he'll be there. I'll just ask him. But as Pablo's always willing to chat.
He is.
And he likes to talk about his progress and stuff like that. So I think I would guess at this point he'll make one more rehab start for the Saints. I'm going to guess that would be like Tuesday because they're off. AAA's off Monday. And then that would line him up to rejoin the rotation, which would still be basically first week of September, end of the first week of September, which is kind of what was mapped out initially. Simeon Woods Richardson returned to the Twins after making a couple of rehab appearances with the Saints. He missed a month with a parasite in his digestive tract. And
Tracked
yeah, tract.
with the
Um,
T. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, the digestive was the tough part to pronounce there, not the tract part. But and he struggled in Toronto, which is the team that traded him to the Twins in
Right.
the Barrios trade in 2021, along with Austin Martin. Gave up what he gave up, 3 homers, something like that. Didn't make
Something
it out of
like
the fourth inning. That's
that.
the
To be fair, there were a lot of home runs going on yesterday. Or
there were
in Toronto. Like
it
people
was
were
a
seeing the ball well for whatever reason. I don't know.
sure,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that was a struggle. He'll hopefully get a little. I mean, he lost like 15 pounds in strength and all that.
Right.
That was why he was out so long. Like he's been healthy for a couple weeks now, but he kind of had to build back up physically. And then the other rotation news from yesterday was David Festa made his first rehab appearance after missing basically a month, I think, with shoulder inflammation. Uh, Last night he threw 2 2/3 scoreless for the Saints. I think he had 4 or 5 strikeouts, 2 or 3 walks, something like that. Velocity was okay, but not amazing. He's definitely going to make at least one, and I might guess like 2 more rehab starts. But he's, coming relatively soon also. I think Lopez will definitely join the rotation or rejoin the rotation before David Festa does. So I'm kind of curious, like,
Yeah.
we're not that far away, depending on Festa's situation, but we're definitely not that far away from Joe Ryan, Lopez, Ober, Zebby, Simeon Woods Richardson, Mick Abel, and Taj Bradley. And that's 7 starting pitchers. If Festa returns, without any speed bumps
Right.
here in a week or week and a half, maybe, let's say, that's 8 starters.
Right.
And there are a lot of ways you can kind of do that. I mean, if you were really wanting to get kind of creative in a season that is already lost, you could just put them in kind of a 4-day situation, which the Twins have been doing with, guys like Travis Adams and Pearson Ole at AAA. You just pair each of them with one other guy,
Yeah.
and they all pitch every 4 games, and they all pitch like 3 or 4 innings, and then when they're done with their 3 or 4 innings, the guy they're paired with comes in and takes over the game, and maybe you can finish the game with 2 pitchers, or at least get to the 7th or the 8th inning, certainly with 2 pitchers. I think if there might be a chance they would do that if it was just like the Mick Abels and the Bradleys
Right. That's
and the
just exactly
Festas.
what I was thinking, right?
But
They're
here's
not
the
going to
thing.
F around with Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, and Pablo Lopez in that
Exactly.
situation because that's the sort of thing that if any of them gets hurt, then that immediately becomes that which you blame.
Right.
Right?
And also, like, why do you want to mess with a great Joe Ryan season and have him do something that he's never going to
Right.
do before or after? Like, you want him to pitch normally. You want Lopez to come back and try to throw 5+ innings. You want Bailey Ober to finish on a high note, et cetera, et cetera. But you could do something where those 3 guys pitch kind of normally, and then you fill the other 2 spots with some
Right.
sort of piggyback situation and work from there. Or the alternative there is you could go to a 6-man rotation, although that doesn't totally solve it either with 8 guys or 7 guys. You could go with 6-man rotation, which then gives guys like Lopez and Ryan some extra time between starts, which I don't think is a bad idea given the nature of the season. Like I'm not trying to squeeze every outing out of or every
Sure.
inning out of these guys at that point. Or you could just flat out move a couple of these guys to the bullpen, whether that means multi-inning, 1 inning, and it doesn't have to be
Right.
some long-term, okay, you're a reliever now, but it could be a way to manage, let's say, David Festa's workload, work him back in slowly, and also get a look at, well, what does he look like if he's only throwing 25 pitches at a time instead of 75 at a time? So I'm curious about that. I mean, it's also possible 1 or 2 guys get hurt or something like that. I mean, these are starting pitchers. They do get hurt, and it's a moot point. But that is one thing to watch maybe a week from now or a week and a half from now as what they kind of choose to do with all these starting pitchers.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there thinking, yeah, but what about like, aren't you going to leave yourself short of the bullpen if you've got basically 8 starting pitchers doing
Yeah.
that? And one thing they've got working for them is that in September they get to call up an additional pitcher. So that would mean, so even if you do have somehow work, so those 8 guys into the rotation, you do have 6 guys that you can still have in the bullpen to sort of eat up some innings. And if you end up, as you said, I kind of like the idea of let's have Lopez and Ryan be, regular starters and occasionally lean into the bullpen a little bit, and the other 6 end up each with a piggyback situation on there. I also wouldn't just be shocked if they just say, I don't know why we are doing this with Bailey Ober. Let's get him,
Right.
to get some rest. But I think Listen, I understand wanting to make sure that you get Joe Ryan through a year, especially because he hasn't been through a year, and stayed healthy and so on. You want to make sure you get his workload up there and you see what he can do in August and September, or basically September at this point. But the priority to me is to see the other five guys, right? The Festa and Simeon Woods Richardson. I'm not even necessarily sure I need to see that much from Simeon Woods Richardson to kind of know where he is at or what he's at. But I think after this, I do. Simeon Woods Richardson, Festa, Matthews, Abel, Bradley. Like those ones I want to see pitching in semi-meaningful games for the Twins here in September to get some idea of what we're looking at, what the initial ranking is going into next spring
Right.
training in terms of which ones we're kind of planning on leaning into, or even if we want to follow your sort of theory on what is going to happen, like if we end up trading away a Lopez or a Ryan, do we have enough arms?
Yeah, except functionally, you can't just shut down a healthy Joe Ryan. You're not going to be able to do that, so that doesn't matter. Like,
No,
I agree with you in
right.
theory, but it's not like you can say you're done, Joe. Like, you think
No,
he's
of
going to
course
react well to that? By the way,
Of course not.
you think the players' union's going to react well
No,
to that
yeah,
as he
of course
enters
not.
arbitration? So
No,
yeah,
and I'm not suggesting they will shut him down. I do want to see him. I'm just saying the priority for me is
Right.
the other stuff. So
yeah, we Abel and Bradley, we broke down their debuts on the Patreon. Neither were good.
no,
I think there were some things to like from both. From a stuff standpoint, from a Bradley bounced back after a horrible couple innings and actually
yeah,
pitched pretty well for 3 innings. But I mean, look, they both had rough debuts. Alan Roden hit 150 and is now out for the season with a thumb surgery. And James Outman, the fourth guy that they got in the trades that they've called up, is hitting, I don't know, 172 or something like that. It hasn't been real. First impression wise, it hasn't exactly blown people away, the guys they've got in the trades. But I do get the sense, like you said, I mean, they want to see Abel and Bradley too. And, I don't think either of them have some huge workload where you'd be like, oh, they only have 2 more starts to make. I think you're going to want these guys
right.
to try to go at least 4 or 5 innings every turn through the rotation here to evaluate, because it's not that this is going to tell you, these next 4 or 5 weeks, they're going to make a handful of starts, everyone, if they stay in the rotation. That's not going to tell you anything about like, oh, do we think this guy's a future all-star or have we given up on him? That's not even the equation. But it will tell you, like, can Mick Abel be in the starting rotation
Right.
next opening day? Can
Right.
Taj Bradley be the 4th starter or the 3rd starter next opening day? And if I'm right about their likelihood of trading veteran starters at this point, which I personally think that's where this is headed, but we'll see. Then that becomes even more important because, then you have 8 that we talked about. But if you trade 1 or 2 of the veterans,
Right.
then you have 6. And as we've seen this year, 6 starters isn't even that much depth. So it's not, it can go from a lot of depth to not that much depth, particularly when you're potentially trading away the best, most qualified, most veteran, most experienced guys. So, and which remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, I think if anything, I'm excited for the most part to see the majority of those names and how they perform down the stretch, even some of the veteran guys, if it can clarify the picture for 2026 a little bit. I wrote about that on The Athletic the other day, kind of going pitcher by pitcher and how I view them and stuff. If anything, I would like to see more of that kind of approach or possibilities for the bullpen. And because the bullpen is the opposite.
It's a good point.
The bullpen, there's like 2 guys maybe you could squint and see being in the bullpen next year, maybe 3 at this point. And maybe that kind of fixes itself if they move 1 or 2 or even 3 of the starters that we just talked about to the bullpen down the stretch. Maybe then the bullpen has a little bit more of that, view for the future evaluation. But that's part of what the frustration is with the bullpen now, that they're blowing games. Okay, like we talked about at the beginning, that is what it is. I don't like to see that, but it's not unexpected given the talent and the names you have out there. But it's also just like, okay, if Cole Sands is in the game, you can go like, all right, well, yeah, hopefully he finishes strong. He can be their setup man next year or something like that. But other than that, maybe like Topa or something. Other than that, it's like Brooks Krischke, and I'm not trying to, like, maybe Funderburk pitches his way into a medium leverage role.
He's had a couple good games, yeah.
But big picture, there is just not. I mean, Genesis Cabrera ain't doing it for me. Like, there isn't that much to evaluate, and so it's in a week from now.
Well, and a couple of the guys that we thought they might be evaluating out there, they've already sent down. Like they made room on the roster by sending down Travis Adams, Pearson Ole. like we were kind of wondering which
Right.
way those guys are the guys that were, throughout the minors going, pitching every fourth day and throwing 60 pitches. And we're kind of wondering, well, maybe they're going to try and put them into a long relief role, or maybe they're going to try and see if they can handle a high leverage role. And what happens when they empty the tank in one inning? And we're not even seeing those right now in the majors. So
Right. So yeah, that's where the rotation is. I think they got a 5.50 ERA, and not the rotation, the pitching staff. Overall, there's still some bright spots, but you want to create a situation where there can be more bright spots down the stretch. And I just think where the bullpen stands now, there's just really no possibility for that, because it's like guys could have good stretches. Funderburk's had a good stretch. It's like, okay, maybe he's the number 2
Right.
lefty. I mean, I'm happy for him. Like,
No, I am too.
that's better than not finding that out about Funderburk, but it's pretty low wattage on that front. Let's talk a little bit about the lineup. Just a few little news and notes on the hitting side too. We mentioned Buxton at the beginning. Buxton hits his 16th career multi-homer game, which is tied for 4th in Twins history with Kent Herbeck. And the guys ahead of him, one ahead of him with 18 multi-homer games, is Tony Oliva.
Okay.
Then in second place is Justin Morneau with 20 career multi-homer games. And then the team leader, and I don't see this getting broken anytime soon. He's been the team leader since the team started, basically, in this stat, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's ever been a different team leader in this stat. I guess not, probably, because he probably hit like multiple homers right away in 1961.
Maybe. Right.
Is Harmon Killebrew with 35. That is insane. Now, he hit
Buxton's gonna have to get his act together. No question
Yeah.
about
I mean, the thing about Buxton is, given the number of games he's missed,
right.
and
Yeah,
also
right.
the fact that he's only 30 years old or 31 years old. So, like, we haven't seen, I mean, we're going to see at least 3 more years of Byron Buxton for the Twins. Like, 16 of them is a lot. Like, he's already at where Herbeck was at for his entire career,
Right.
basically
Yeah.
at where Oliva was at for his entire career. As a percentage of your total homers, Buxton has a very high percentage coming in 2 homer games, which is when he gets hot, he's hot.
Right.
I mean, certainly no one could ever say otherwise about Byron Buxton. When he's hot, whether in a game or in a week or in a month or whatever, and we've seen that more often than not this year. But yeah, 35.
Whew.
That's one of those I like to say, this was meant to be a Byron Buxton stat, but it really became a Harmon Killebrew stat.
Yeah, that's not unusual. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
If people don't know, like if you're younger than me and John, which is very easy to do, go look at go to Baseball Reference or something and just type in Harmon Killebrew
yeah,
and just look at the numbers. And then after you look at those numbers, think about this. He did most of that in the 1960s, which was one of the lowest scoring eras in the history of baseball, to the point that
Right.
they had to make changes to lower the mound and introduce the designated hitter to the American League to bring more offense. And then relook at Harmon Killebrew's numbers and then go, holy. Yeah. Anyway,
that's
on the Buxton front, he reached 100 games played for the 2nd straight year, which is the first time he's ever done that in his career. And he had some interesting quotes. Dan Hayes was in Toronto and said to him, hey, 100 games, back-to-back years, that's something, right? And Buxton said, yeah, I mean, it's better than not playing 100 games. But once I hit the 100-game mark last year, after all I'd been through on the injury front, I realized, oh, I can do this. Like, I can still do this. That it's no longer like it's a possibility again. And so doing it a second year in a row is kind of proof of concept for that. But I mean, he's hopefully going to get 115, 120 games, something like that. He's had some struggles since coming off the IL, or I guess most recently. My notion was that he's still a little bit hurt from the rib cage inflammation. It seems to me he's in the outfield, especially. I've seen him what appears to be like wincing a little bit if he has to sprint after a ball and then change directions or something like that. But he popped 2 homers. And here's the other thing. He's up to 4.2 wins above replacement on Baseball Reference right now, which puts him on pace for like 5, which is kind of the bar for like, wow, this was a great season, 5 wins above replacement. But the other thing is, we heard so much over the past several years about his contract. Anytime he's hurt, people go, oh my God, they're paying him all this money and he's hurt. What I always point out is 2 things. One, they're not paying him all this money. He's making $15 million a year. That's not even one of the 100 highest salaries in baseball at this point. But beyond that, he's so good that even when he's missing half of seasons, which thankfully the
He's
last 2
often
years
worth $15 million.
he's
right.
been worth more than $15 million
Right.
and typically double that in a lot of seasons. And this year is a good example. He's at 100 games right now. Hopefully he gets to 115, 120, 125, whatever it is. That's still, significant missed time, obviously. A quarter of the season he's probably going to end up missing. And yet he's already got 4.2 wins above replacement, which generally each win above replacement is worth like $8 to $10 million, something like that. Thought to be that's kind of how the evaluation works. Which let's even call it 8. He's at like 35 million then in value for a $15 million contract or salary
Right,
at that
right.
point. And it was similar last year. I mean, he's typically, if he even stays a little bit healthy, he's just so dynamic and so good in so many areas that if he even plays like half a season at the level we've seen, he's worth 30 million. And now we're probably going to see him be worth 40 million, something like that. So good to see him
On
in
his-
back-to-back years.
Because he had 100 games. I looked it up. So we'll just mention patreon.com/Gleeman. We'll mention it again. We generally do a couple different shows every week during the season. And one of those shows is often a mailbag. And we like our mailbag episodes a lot because it allows us to have a little bit of structure. We don't go quite as crazy, but also is being driven by, but also a lot of impromptu sort of reaction sort of stuff. Well, one of those reaction questions a while back, like 2 years ago, when we thought the core of this team was Correa, Lewis, and Buxton, was how many games would be a good over-under for them playing together. And I think that the suggestion at the time was like 360 or something. And we said, no, probably 300. And we'd probably take the under on that. And so we've always kind of tracked that. Now, we're tracking that this year as sort of a morbid curiosity thing because it doesn't really matter how many games those guys play. This isn't going to be a competitive team one way or the other. Royce Lewis hasn't been good. Carlos Correa's already gone. But Byron Buxton keeps on checking. So I checked it because he got to his mark. He got to the 100 game mark.
Yeah.
And so I checked it, and it is a little bit of a milestone in that, or a coincidental milestone. Right now, those three together, and Correa can't get any more for the Twins, right? He's stuck at 93. Need 27 more games to get to 300, 29 more games to get to 300. And do you know how many games there are left, Aaron Gleeman?
29. So that means if Lewis and Buxton alternate playing, they'll
exactly
get there.
Right. That's
which
right.
I would not suggest doing that, but yeah, that's interesting. I mean, obviously the whole premise of it was that those guys are good but injured, and now
that's in question.
The good part is in question for at least one and possibly two of those.
Right.
Also on the hitting front, Matt Wallner's got his OPS back to the 820, 830 range, which is despite not playing well, I would say. I mean, I think he would probably even say that just overall this season, which is kind of remarkable. And then the other thing is Luke Keisch continues to look great at the plate, continues to just get on base, and he's hitting for some power, and he's stealing bases, and also continues to look pretty rough at second base.
Yeah, he's
and
worse
we don't
than Julian ever did right now at this point.
Yeah. It's interesting. We don't have to get too far into it because I think we talked about it for like 15, 20 minutes on the last Patreon maybe, but it is interesting. I'm willing to give him, as like a long-term view of what he might be defensively.
Sure.
I'm definitely willing to give him a little grace because he is still not 100% back from elbow surgery, Tommy John surgery, last August. He's basically 1 year removed from that. And then during that time that he's supposed to be recovering from elbow surgery, he broke his forearm on the same arm, and he missed 3 months with that. And so he's not only coming back from elbow surgery and a broken forearm on his right arm, his throwing arm, which is going to affect your throwing. Clearly, we've seen that couple weak throws on plays where you're like, ooh. But also he just hasn't played that much second base because even last year he was playing through the elbow problems for the majority of the year. He was mostly a first baseman and a DH because they were trying to avoid having him throw
when he needs Tommy John. Yeah.
Right. And even this spring when he was coming back, he was taking ground balls and then rolling the ball back in for practice. Like he really only started throwing without limitations within the last couple of months. And that's also why you're not seeing him play any outfield right now because they don't want him making longer throws yet because of the recovery from the elbow surgery and then also the broken arm. So I will give him some grace in the sense that there are definitely some plays on throws where you're like, that looked like a bad, weak throw. Well, yeah. I mean, the guy had Tommy John surgery and a broken arm. But then beyond that there's also just been plays where the ball just clangs off his leg, or there was the quote unquote double in Toronto where he came in to try to scoop a chopper and he just whiffed on it and the ball went into the outfield and they called it a double. If you've ever needed an example of why errors are meaningless,
Right.
a chopper to second base was called a double because the guy
Right.
technically didn't touch it. Okay, just call it a hit or an out, like at that point. But so I mean, there's been a bunch of plays where either a hopper hits him in the chest and bounces away,
Right.
hits him in the leg, bounces away. He whiffs on it with his glove. I'm not taking him off the hook for that. Like I said, it's been ugly, but he's also barely played second base for a year and a half now, basically. So I think he's maybe shaking some of the rust off. There's repetitions involved and all that.
Well,
I
and
mean,
they seem to be optimistic about his defense at second base. I mean, I mean,
I don't know about that. Well, it depends. What's the optimism that he's going to be an average second baseman?
yeah, that he's got the
Okay.
range. He's got maybe better range than most second basemen.
He definitely has good range. It's
Right.
the question of I don't think they really doubt that he can get to balls.
Right.
It's what does he do with them once he gets there?
Right.
And that I guess can be improved more than just pure range. Like if you're going to start with one good skill set,
Yeah.
I just want the range and then work on the arm strength. Hopefully that comes back after surgeries and all that,
Well,
and
and there-
work on some of the fundamental aspects of it. But
we should mention as well, there were some questions about this even in the minor leagues. Now, again, it's hard to evaluate because he was dealing with Tommy John and a bunch of for most of last year, an injury. But the biggest question I heard about Luke Keisch coming into this season is, yeah, he's a good hitter. Where does he play? Like is he a good hitter without a position, and is he a good enough hitter that you're just going to put him at DH or first base? He might not be that good of a hitter, and we're not sure exactly which play. Now, I think we talked a little bit on the Patreon. He seems like a very natural left fielder, like somebody who would
Right.
thrive in left field.
right, I
But-
mean, he played center field in the minors before
Right.
the injury, so
Right. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a where does he. I don't think he's a DH or anything. I mean, he has too much athleticism and speed to do that. So I
Right.
mean, I'm not that worried about that. But if he's more of a left fielder than a second, I mean, it's the same thing we saw with like Austin Martin on a much lower scale, right? Like
right. Yeah.
it was like, oh, he's speedy and he's athletic. He can play anywhere. And it's like where you can play him. Well, not second base, not third base, definitely not shortstop. In center field, he looks a little rough. Left field, and it's
Right,
like, well,
yeah.
okay, now he's a speedy left fielder. I don't think Keisha's quite at that point yet, but there are some aspects of the defense that you just go, I wonder how much that's affected by the time off and the arm issues versus just a skill set thing
Yep.
that either needs smoothing out or maybe is just a weakness that you can't get past.
And
But
I'm
also,
not sure-
you're allowed to slump defensively too. Like we've
Right,
seen him
yes,
for
that's right.
25 games. It's possible we've just seen a bad version of Luke Keisha for 25 games defensively.
I'm also not sure we're going to get that question answered this year. Like that's not. I don't know
Right.
that we're going to get a good sense of where he is defensively this September. He can play a lot at second base. I don't know that we're going to have a much better idea at the end of September than we do right. Then we're going to have to get these questions answered in the future.
Yeah.
So.
But what I mean on the slump front is like, okay, he's hitting 350, right? Like through 27 games. I think anybody, even the most optimistic Luke Keisha people ever, which I'm certainly optimistic about him, would probably be willing to admit he's not going to hit 350 for the rest of his life. Like we're seeing the best version of Luke Keisha offensively. Why is it, implausible that we could be seeing something like the worst version, the opposite of that defensively? Now, maybe that's optimistic. You're looking at it that way, but like, that's all I'm saying. I mean, people like to say defense doesn't slump. BS. Defense definitely slumps. Guys have
Yes,
bad weeks
right.
defensively. Guys through bad stretches defensively. Guys go through the yips defensively, all sorts of other things. So, on the hitting, I was looking at the overall numbers. There are only 4 players still on the roster, 4 hitters still on the roster who have an OPS plus of 100 or higher, which means 100
Average, right.
means they're an average hitter compared to the league. The 4 of them are Luke Keisha, who's played 27 games and has a 167 OPS plus, which is ridiculous. I mean, you'd be an inner circle Hall of Famer if you put up those numbers for even 10 years.
Sure.
That means he's 67% better than the league average hitter. Then you have Buxton, who's
Sure.
at 135, which by the way, if he did that for 15 years as a center fielder healthy, he'd make the Hall of Fame also. Then you have Wallner at 122. which is a shade below the numbers he's put up the last couple years, but 22% better than a league average hitter is still pretty good. And then the last one who just barely sneaks by is Ryan Jeffers at 105. Although I will say, if you're comparing Ryan Jeffers there to the league average, but if you compare him to catchers, he's a well above average, one of the better hitting catchers. So that's kind of your four, I don't know, your new core four, I guess.
Yep.
Now, you would obviously love Royce Lewis or Brooks Lee or Trevor Larnach or some other guys. And I'm not saying they won't be part of the core future, but going off this season, and that's one of the most disappointing aspects of this season for me, is like there aren't that many hitters where you go, I feel better about them today than I did on opening day.
Right.
And, Keisch for sure. Buxton, I don't know if I feel better, but I feel like, okay.
I absolutely feel better about it.
Yeah. Now he's done it a second year.
Right.
And, the talent with Buxton's never in question. It's just how many games can he play? Wallner, I feel worse about Wallner than I did on opening day, but also there's no reason he can't just still be a corner outfield slugger, whatever.
Sure.
And then Jeffers, I don't know that I feel better about him, but it's like, okay, he's taken on a little bit more playing time since the Vasquez injury. He's played a lot of DH. He's kind of changed his game to be more contact, batting average, on base driven versus trying to hit 25 homers. So offensively, at least, I think he's been disappointing defensively, obviously, but offensively at least. But then after those four, it's like, what else we got?
Cody Clemens?
Don't look up Cody Clemens' overall numbers.
Well, no, I know where Cody Clemens is sitting.
You bring up Cody Clemens anytime we talk about the lineup. It's almost like a tick you have.
Well, I mean, in terms of guys that are doing better than I thought they were going to do. Like Cody Clemens, when we got him off of waivers, I did not expect him to have a 97 OPS plus or whatever he's at right now. I don't know.
Okay, but
right.
That's pretty close to what his minor league numbers probably suggested he would have had. But yeah, he's your new Jonah Bride. I think you just hear future lineup and you go, "What name do I need to say?" You're like Reggie Jackson. You're like Reggie Jackson in the original Naked Gun, where he just has to kill the queen. You have to say Cody Clemens. Lineup must say Cody Clemens. Anyway, sorry. I think that's the premise, right? Enrico Palazzo was the umpire.
Well, the umpire, yeah.
And I saw the new Naked Gun. It was better than I expected.
Was it? Yeah, it was Reggie Jackson had to kill him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that part I know. Yeah, the new Naked Gun, Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson.
I have not seen it, and I want to see it because.
Yeah, don't see it sober. I know that's not necessarily a problem for you in general. Yeah, it was good though.
Right.
I think Becky saw it twice, which. Okay. I don't know that I need to, how like some movies you see a second time, you're like, I noticed stuff that second viewing that really, like, I didn't see the context of this and the like little subtleties in this. I don't think that's like Naked Gun 2025. Like, ooh, I get that poop joke even more than I got before. Like
that movie seems to me like it's going to be one of those that I'm going to watch on an airplane. That feels like airplane. Like I kind of rank that movie. I'm going to wait until it comes to, Disney Plus. And this one I want to see in the theater, and this one I'm going to wait till it's on an airplane, and I've got 2.5 hours to kill, and I'm just like, I don't want to think. How about I watch some Naked Gun?
But you need to get drunk on the airplane. I know that's like a challenge I've put out to you, but like, I really would not advise seeing this sober. I think you're going to be like, anyway. Okay, let's, before we talk about Walker Jenkins, who I would advise watching sober or drunk, really, works either way. Let's talk about our last couple of sponsors here.
Yeah. So first of all, Prize Picks. We just talked about RotoWire with football season coming up and how you enjoy fantasy football. Another way you can play fantasy football, and actually RotoWire can probably help you with it, is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is with football season coming up, you're going to be watching a bunch of the games anyway, and it's a lot more interesting when you're kind of trying to guess how players are going to do. It's simple to play. You just download the app, and then you go out there and you start taking a look at some of the player projections. And for instance,
you just pick more or less for any projection.
More or less for these guys, and then you find a few of those different players. You set your lineup. You say, I'm going to go more on this guy, less on this guy, more on this guy, less on this guy. You've got your real money in on there, some of which is going to be gifted to you because we're going to tell you how to do to get that. And you see how you end up at the end of the day and how you compare to how they actually did. And I'll also tell you this. I'm looking at it right now on my phone. They sometimes just do these call-out ones So, for instance, this week versus my beloved Eagles,
Mhm.
Dak Prescott has a pass yards of 0.5.
Right. It's
Do
like
you
a
think it's
free.
gonna be
It's
more or
like a free
less?
square.
Yes, right, right,
Like the in bingo or something. If they
uh,
give you a free square,
right. Yeah,
it's
it's a
like we're going to give you
no-brainer.
this one to start you out
That's
as
exactly.
a pick. If you download the app today, that's Prize Picks, and use the code Gleeman, you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup,
That's right.
$5
That's right.
lineup. So that's the code Gleeman, Gleeman, to get $50 in lineups on Prize Picks after you play your first $5 lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And our last sponsor today is Hims.
Yeah.
And if you're like us, and now that people can see us on YouTube, they can see what long, luxurious locks we
Not
both don't
everybody
have.
looks as good as we do without a lot of hair.
Yeah,
You
okay.
might not have as much confidence going out into the world with your hairline
Yeah.
as Aaron and I have.
Yeah, okay. It's an
Right?
interesting way to phrase it. Yeah.
And so if that's the case, we would suggest you take a look at Hims. It offers a convenient access to a range of prescription hair loss treatments. So this isn't just one thing. They've got a range of prescription hair loss treatments with ingredients that work, including chews or oral medication or serums or sprays. It's doctor trusted, clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil, the ones that you know can stop hair loss and regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. And you shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. It brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatments to put your goals first. No obstacles. Just go online, no hidden fees, no surprise costs, just real personalized care when you want it, how you want it.
Yes. For simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/Gleeman. That's hims.com/Gleeman for your free online visit. Hims.com/Gleeman, HIMS.com/Gleeman. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. My middle school teachers would be so glad, I guess elementary school, about my reading capabilities.
You really have come a long way on the
Thank you.
reading
I
scene
appreciate that, John.
since the podcast started. I gotta tell you.
Yeah. What I do is it's like I put it like caveman drawings where I have to spell out and finasteride a tough one because I don't even know what that would be. Anyway,
Anything with finesse is tough for you. I get
yeah,
it.
I have a lot of finesse. Okay, let's talk about Walker Jenkins a little bit here. Which Walker Jenkins is the Twins' top prospect, number 5 pick in the 2023 draft.
And why is he in the news, Aaron Gleeman?
Because he was promoted to AAA St. Paul on Tuesday. He's played 3 games now. Last night, which was Thursday, he had his first AAA hit, which was a double, although right fielder kind of made a meal out of that one. But it was a double, and I think he also drew a walk, and he also made a really nice catch up against the wall in center field. So starting to get comfortable in his 3rd game at AAA. This is notable for a couple of reasons. One, he's just the Twins' best prospect, and he's a consensus, I would say, top 20 prospect, maybe top 15 prospect across Major League Baseball. And the Twins don't have, I would say, we talked about this more in depth on the last show, but I would say he's probably the best Twins prospect in terms of not just how I view him, but like where they're ranked nationally, like where the
Sure.
consensus ranking since Buxton. And Buxton was, I think, a 2-time number 1
Yeah, I think he was
prospect
too, yeah.
overall. So he's not quite at that level, but he's kind of a half step from that. And then obviously you have Mauer before that. But so it's just notable when that level of prospect gets promoted to AAA because they're 1 step from the majors, and you can really start to kind of dream on them even next season as part of the Twins. But what's especially notable about Walker Jenkins is that he's 20 years old, and
Right.
he's not even like almost 21. He turns 21 in February during spring training. And so he's like 20 and a half right now. And I wrote about this morning, so I'm not going to recap the whole article. Hopefully people go read it at The Athletic. But, what I tried to get into was even setting aside the skills you can point to with Walker Jenkins and the performance you can point to with Walker Jenkins, which are both very good. We can talk about those in a second. Those are what make him a great prospect, right? Ever since he was coming out of high school, when he was 17, people were like, he could be the number 1 pick. He ended up being the 5th pick because that was a very, very stacked draft, which maybe we'll talk about in a second. But since then, the kind of progression, and the remarkable thing is to reach AAA at 20 and a half is extremely fast for anyone, as I'm about to tell you some numbers for. But beyond that, he's missed significant time, including the first 2.5 months basically of this season with an ankle injury.
2 months of last season too.
Yes,
right?
with a hamstring injury. He hurt his hamstring on opening day. And so he's basically missed like half of each of the last 2 seasons. Not quite, but almost. And he still got to AAA at 20 years old, which speaks to how willing the Twins are. And I know the Twins rep for 20-something years has been, oh, they never promote prospects. They keep these guys in the minors forever. I mean, Keishel's 22 and playing for them.
That has changed.
Walker Jenkins is 20. Right. I think that's changed in general across baseball. Young players are being pushed faster, and they're also producing more right away than ever before. I've seen a few things written about this. But so it's remarkable for him to reach AAA at this point, having 2 not significant, but months-long injuries, and still get to AAA at a point that is just a rarity, regardless of performance. So I wrote about this. I'm not going to go through all of it, but here's the thing. Like, if you look back at, let's say, the last 20 years across baseball, not just with the Twins, first of all, he's the first 20-year-old to play a game at AAA for the Twins in 25 years. Before he was born.
Wow, right. Yeah. Mauer didn't even make it there, right? Yeah.
Right. Mauer played AA at 20 and then went to the majors at 21. And so that's aggressive, obviously. But then beyond that, if you look in the last 20 years for all teams, not just the Twins, there's only been 41 instances, so about 2 per year, of a 20-year-old player logging even 50 plate appearances at AAA. So basically twice a year it happens. A prospect is that good and that healthy and pushed that aggressively. And of those 41 prior guys, about 5 or 6 of them are so recent having done that it's impossible to evaluate their careers. Roman Anthony is now killing it for the Red Sox, but obviously, like, he hasn't made an all-star team. I don't think anybody doubts he's going to make an all-star team.
Right.
But you have about 5 or 6 guys, and I listed them in my article, where they're just in the majors. Like, they're looking good, but who knows? So really, it's like 35 guys have done it over the last 20 years in a way that you can have any sort of meaningful look at their career at this point. And even some of those guys are pretty young. And of those 35, 18 of them have already been an all-star in the majors. Which means just by virtue of playing a couple weeks at AAA as a 20-year-old, which Walker Jenkins is 3 games into doing, you're basically a coin flip, or better, I would argue, of being a Major League All-Star. And that, by the way, the crazy thing is that's not factoring in the actual performance at AAA at all.
Right, yeah,
it doesn't matter if you went 0 for 100 or you hit 500. Just getting to AAA for even 50 plate appearances, which is basically like a couple weeks, gives you a coin flip to be a Major League All-Star, which is incredible to me.
Yep.
And you look at the names, and it's, Mike Trout, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, Andrew McCutchen, Lindor, Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, Junior Caminero most recently, Riley Green most recently, some of the bright young stars who are going to make a bunch of All-Star teams, obviously. Then the other thing that I thought was noteworthy about Jenkins is, even if you don't buy into that, if you're like, well, I want to see how he performs at AAA, just getting there, who cares? Okay. 20-year-olds at AA with a 900 OPS, he had a 915 OPS, I think, something like that, in 200 or more plate appearances, which he did. He's one of just 18 guys to do that in the last 20 years. That's an even smaller sample group of guys. Basically, not even one guy per season plays as well or hits as well as he did at AA as a 20-year-old. And I would say 4 of those guys are way too young to even look at, which means there are 14 guys who have done that in the last 20 years. 10 of them are already all-stars. And that number's definitely going to grow over the next several years. So you're basically like 2/3 or better to be an all-star over the last 20 years if you have a 900 OPS at AA like he did. And, the names, Giancarlo Stanton, Julio Rodriguez, Rafael Devers, Ellie De La Cruz, Austin Riley, Javi Baez, and then you get Bogarts, Green from the other list. The one maybe Twins fans don't want to hear is Miguel Sano. He's the only twin. Yeah. But even Miguel Sano, who had a 915 OPS at AA in 2013 as a 20-year-old, he was a Major League All-Star in 2017 before he broke his leg and everything went to hell with him. So out of all the 20-year-olds at AA over the last 20 years, Walker Jenkins has the seventh highest runs created plus. And this 5 of the 6 ahead of him, Major League All-Stars. So that's kind of, look, I want him to hit well and I want him to thrive and all that. But like he's already at a point from a production standpoint at AA at 20 and then just reaching AAA at 20, where he's in kind of rarefied air here, where it's not that the act of being promoted to AAA has any effect. It's not like you get, a card you can flash that says All-Star on it or something like that. It doesn't actually increase your odds. But what it means is that the majority of players for whom teams are willing to promote guys it's that quickly. It's almost always that they're widely considered future stars, and there's all the idea that they need to be kind of pushed aggressively to test them and challenge them developmentally. And the thing about Jenkins that's even more encouraging than just reaching it is he's hit 290 or better in each of the 4 levels below AAA, and he's had an 850 OPS or higher in each of the rookie ball, the 2 single A's and AA. And he's done that while being one of the youngest players in all of those leagues. He was the 3rd youngest player in the Texas League, which is AA.
And while not getting a full year in any of these places, or even yeah, right. And we should also mention this, the other thing, like in terms of type of player, we're talking a lot about his hitting, about his bat.
Yes.
Guy started in center field yesterday.
Yes. He's a good athlete.
Right.
It's definitely has above average speed. He's stolen 11 bases in 14 tries this year while only playing like 50 something games. So that's, 30 steal pace at a good clip. But in terms of the people I've talked to, gets pretty good reviews defensively in center field, but he's also, I think, going to become a pretty big muscular guy. He's 6'3".
Sure.
He's already, pretty strong. The chances of him kind of remaining in center field, plus you have Buxton obviously in center field for the next 3 years, probably. I think more likely he would profile as an okay center fielder. Maybe similar to like Max Kepler back in the day, where like the raw speed isn't amazing, but he's smooth out there. Back when Max Kepler actually was willing to play some center field. But I think more likely is he'll be like a Gold Glove caliber right fielder, or at least, standout right fielder, which that's fine too. But yeah, to your point, when I'm looking at the numbers here in 900 OPS, I'm just looking at hitting.
Right.
And a lot of those guys are just great hitters, obviously.
Yes.
To be that level of hitting production where you're already in that sort of coin flip all-star category, and then also be a center fielder with good speed, good athleticism, all that stuff. And he also checks the boxes in terms of plate discipline, strikeout rate, things you want to see. The power has been the question with him. You look at him and you think he's going to hit for power, sort of like people looked at Mauer and thought he was going to hit for power, but he's been much more geared opposite field, good plate discipline, all that. But I think he has 7 homers in his last 40 games at AA to kind of start to show the ability to pull the ball in the air, because you got to learn that. That comes with experience. So I'm nothing's guaranteed.
You're buying a Walker Jenkins stock, are you?
Yeah, well, that's not. Yeah, I'm the guy who thinks Walker Jenkins is going to be good.
All you other doubters.
Yeah, but I mean, he's checked every box. Like obviously the injury stuff, you want that to not be an issue. It's been an issue, unfortunately, with every Twins prospect for 25 years or maybe longer than that. But in terms of checking every box from a performance standpoint, checking every box from a skill set standpoint that you would want to see, checking every box just physically looking at him for whatever that's worth. I know they said in Moneyball, we're not selling jeans here, but he could sell some jeans if you wanted him to. And then also just the AA performance puts him in real rarefied air, like one guy per year kind of performs like that at age 20, and then getting to AAA. Regardless of what happens over the next several weeks, getting there is a real positive indicator for future success. So I think it's fun now that he's at AAA. People can go get their first glimpse at him when they come back. They're in Toledo now, but I'm assuming next week they'll be back at the CHS. You can go see them. I think they play well into September, so you should be able to get at least a couple of home series with Walker Jenkins. So yeah, go see the future of the Minnesota Twins. And here's the other reality, which we've talked about over the years with any number of prospects. Once you get to AAA, you can kind of choose your own adventure. Single A, double A, people like to map out, when's the ETA for this guy? And he's doing great at double A, but he's only 20. Like, could you see him 2027, mid 2026, all that? That's all speculative. Once you reach triple A, you can basically knock the door down yourself if you want. And I'm not saying he can do that this season. I don't think that's in the cards. It's not impossible, I guess. But, if he plays 15 games at AAA down the stretch, then goes back next spring and starts the year at AAA, if he hits 320
Right.
from April at AAA, he's going to be in the majors, like,
Right.
May of next season. Like, particularly they've shown no, they've shown a real willingness to push him. So
I'll take it a step further than that. I mean, yeah, if he kicks ass in spring training, he might be on the opening
yeah,
day roster. I mean,
MLB has tried to uh, lessen the motivation for teams to game service time. It used to be even the
yeah,
top prospects. I always thought the Chris Bryant one was the most ridiculous, which Chris Bryant, the previous year for the Cubs, I'm trying to think what year this was. Let me look it up. Had just destroyed AAA. Like he
Right.
was, if not the best hitting prospect, certainly one of the elite level hitting prospects. This was 2015. And they sent him back to AAA and he, put up absurd numbers. And at the time they were like, well, we still want him to smooth out some things at third base defensively. And I was like, okay. And then they called him up and I think he won MVP or he won Rookie of the Year that year and then MVP the next year. There's also been examples where it's like, this guy's headed to AAA, but then he signs a long-term extension in spring training. And then what do you know? He's in the majors.
Yeah, right.
Opening day.
Yeah.
It got to be kind of absurd, but because of MLB's service time and pay and free agent structure, sending a guy to the minors for even a few weeks to start a season can create a situation where you get an entire extra year basically of service time because their first season doesn't eat up an entire full season. And so when you're pushing off free agency for delaying it for an entire year and you can still get 125 games out of the guy, you just won't get 155 games out of the guy. There's a system that incentivizes that. It's unfortunate. I think it sucks for the players. It sucks for fans. And in the recent collective bargaining agreement, they tried to put in something to kind of re-motivate getting a guy on the opening day roster when he's clearly ready. And what they put in there was, if a guy's on the opening day roster and he wins Rookie of the Year, you get a first round pick or a second round pick, I guess, basically, which we've seen that happen and teams get rewarded for playing guys and not gaming their service time and all that. But here's the reality. You can think real highly of Walker Jenkins, and the Twins do, believe me, and still think, hey, he might finish third for Rookie of the Year or fifth for Rookie of the Year. And I think there are some incentives built into that too. But like to not game his service time, I would love to see it. I mean, I'd love to see him on the opening day roster, all that. But
is a risk.
Then don't be mad when he leaves in free agency at age 27 instead of age 28. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You need to be real certain to not give up that control. But I do agree with you. Like, I mean, if he looks good here over the next 2 or 3 weeks at AAA and he has a good spring, that's going to certainly be a topic of discussion. Like, should he just be on the opening day roster? Now, it depends what the rest of the roster looks like, obviously. But even if that isn't in the cards, which I guess I would be somewhat surprised. They've never really,
sure,
they haven't done that much. But again, once you get to AAA, and certainly if you finish the previous season at AAA and then you start the next season at AAA, it isn't going to take much. They're not going to need to see 100 games of this guy. Whatever you think of the Twins front office and coaching and all that.
Well, and even if they're futzing with the service time, he's there May 1st.
Right. It's literally, there's a few different, kind of mile markers there in terms of year of service time, in terms of arbitration, in terms of that. But the first one's like April 25th or something like that. Right. Like if you just send a guy to the minors for like 3 weeks and then you call him up, it's as if that first year doesn't count as a year, basically. Right. But yeah, just in general, I don't know, he's their best prospect since Buxton. He appears at I've reached out to so many people this year, particularly once he started playing every day again at AA. People who've watched him, people from other teams that have scouted him, people with the Twins who have looked at him and been like, tell me something about this guy not to like. And I don't mean as a person. I just mean right. I'm looking at it. He's hitting 300. He's drawing walks. He's not striking out much. The power seems to be coming along. He looks the part. He's good defensively. He's stealing bases. He's 20 years old, for God's sakes. Tell me something here that's like, ooh, this could hurt him as he gets up the ladder. The only things people point to are, the nagging injuries, which, okay. Like I've heard from a bunch of people, and the stats back this up, is like he hits a lot of ground balls. And it's like how much power. I remember having this discussion about, Mauer back in the day, which people look at him and he's 6'5", and they're like, why doesn't he hit a bunch of power? Well, it's like, well, he has an inside out swing. He's hitting the ball the other way and he hits a bunch of ground balls. Ground balls aren't going over the fence, no matter how hard you hit them, And with Jenkins, that was the one thing people pointed to of like, he hits the ball hard and he squares it up and he doesn't strike out a lot and he draws walks and he gets on base. But a lot of his hard hit balls are just ground balls. But we've started to see over the last month or
Yes.
so, he's starting to elevate a little bit
Yeah.
more. It's like Happy's learned to putt in Happy Gilmore. He's
Yeah,
starting to learn the thing that's the one weakness.
I think 5 of the last 6 home runs that he hit 6 home runs at Double-A. I think 5 of them happened in like the last month of his time there. Yeah.
And if you look at him, I mean, he has the ability to go deep the opposite way, which is always good to see, to like left center, left field. But I mean, he can just rip one down the line to right, which is something Mauer never really grew into.
Yeah.
By the way, it's also not surprising that a 20-year-old isn't, fully optimized for slugging yet. Like,
Sure.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right, yeah.
no matter if he's 6'3",
Even
looks the part.
even if he is a specimen, right? Yeah, that's
Right. Like, you got to get your swing going. So now, does it make me a little nervous that we're relying on the Twins player development and coaching to tap into that fully? Yes, it does. But he's as good a prospect as you're generally going to see. And now that he's at AAA, I give everybody permission to start dreaming on 2026. Because here's the reality. Barring injury, he's going to play for the Twins next year. Right? I mean,
Right.
now,
Well, you would expect that, right?
barring injury, he will play for the Twins next year. So yeah, it's
I am
fun.
taking a look at the Saints schedule right now. You've only got 1 week to watch him, kids.
There's only one homestand left?
There's only one homestand left.
Oh, that's
They're
too
on
bad.
the road this week. Then they're on the road next week as well. And then the week, Tuesday, September 9th through Sunday, September 4th, Colorado comes to town. They have night games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then a day game Sunday. Those are the games that you're going to be able
Yeah.
to see them. And then they're back on the road for the last week of the season. Season ends September 21st. So
Okay. Or you could take a road trip. Most of those road trips aren't too long, right? Where are they playing?
let's see. At Memphis is the last week of the season. At Louisville is next
Wow.
week.
Okay.
So,
Those are the longer ones.
These are
All right. I
not
spoke too
close.
soon.
That's right. Yeah, this is not Des Moines. that you get to
Well,
go
I would
to.
never advise anyone to take a road trip to Iowa. I just wouldn't.
I
So
did
yeah.
read your story. I was happy to see how many of the quotes from Ryan Jeffers I recognized as having been at the Winter Meltdown.
Yes. So here's fun. Oh, so John's talking about in my Walker Jenkins article. First of all, congratulations on subscribing to The Athletic and reading our great Twins
Well,
coverage.
I'm pirating it. I'm not paying
Yeah,
for that.
I believe that. But yeah, what John's saying is in the middle of the article, I was like, I need some quotes here because this is real numbers driven.
Right.
So in my head, I thought, I remember talking to Ryan Jeffers, who's
Yeah.
from North Carolina, went to UNC Wilmington, and Walker Jenkins is from North Carolina also.
Right.
I think he's from Wilmington and Jeffers is from Raleigh, but went to school in Wilmington. Anyway, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I swear I talked to Ryan Jeffers about Jenkins and the fact that they trained together each of the last 2 off seasons in North Carolina. And in my head, I think, I'm pretty sure he gave me some real juicy quotes. Like he called him,
He did.
I don't know, Captain America or something like that. So I went looking for it, and it turns out, well, yeah, it was at the Winter Meltdown on stage. Everyone heard it. And so I threw those in there because they were very, Ryan Jeffers is a good quote, which is why
Right,
we were
yes.
happy to have him on the Meltdown. But he was very enthusiastic. And he basically said, look, sometimes with a real top prospect, you just look at him and you go, God damn, this is a man among boys. Like
Right,
this
yeah,
is
that's
just,
it, yep.
and the funny thing is he said, sometimes you get an average Joe and he rolls out there and he hits 30 homers, he throws 100 miles an hour. And then there's a guy like Walker Jenkins when you're like, oh yeah, he looks like he's going to hit 30
Right,
homers,
that's right.
which I thought was kind of interesting because if we're being fair here, Ryan Jeffers looks like that too. Like, I mean, Ryan Jeffers is a massive catcher, like, anyway. So yeah, Winter Meltdown. You want to go there because you can hear him a year ahead of time.
Exactly.
This was in, what was this, January, right?
Yeah.
Talking about Walker Jenkins. Let's finish up real quick notes here on some old friends. The Guardians released Carlos Santana,
Yeah, I saw that.
who hit 225 with a career worst 650 OPS after leaving the Twins as a free agent, returning to Cleveland for the third time on a 1-year, $12 million deal.
I was going to say, how much did they pay him? $12 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
12 mil. The Twins paid him 5 mil last
Right.
year, which worked out really well for the Twins. He's 39. That was always the risk. It's interesting because they put him on waivers earlier in the week, and you can't trade guys anymore after July 31st. But what we've seen the last couple of seasons, once they got rid of the secondary, what was called the waiver trade deadline in August, is
Right.
teams who didn't trade guys. I remember we saw it with Lucas Giolito a few years ago. The Angels did it with a handful of guys. I remember. Um, Once you pass the July 31st trade deadline, you can't trade guys anymore. You just can't. There's no functional way to do it. But what you could do, if you fall further out of it, which the Guardians have done, they're below 500 now, like they're out of the playoff picture basically. Then you go, well, we didn't trade anybody, or we didn't trade this guy, we didn't trade that guy. But now we're at a point where it would be nice to like save the last
Right.
month of this $12 million contract, which is
Yeah.
basically $2 million a month. And you can also position it as, well, we'd like to give this guy a chance to catch on with a contender, which
Right.
I don't doubt that's the case, but that's not necessarily the biggest motivation for teams. And so they put him on
Let's
waivers.
just put it as it could be a win-win.
Sure, yeah.
That's right.
So they put him on waivers. Nobody claimed him on waivers, so they just released him, which means they don't save the $2 million that was left on it, or 2.5 or whatever was left on his contract. But now it's August 29th as we record this. Between now and Monday, if he signs with another team, he's eligible for the playoffs, because the only prerequisite to be eligible for the playoffs is to be signed and in an organization when the clock hits midnight on September 1st. And so now he's released. He has the opportunity to do that. Now, I don't know what contender is going to view him as an upgrade or anything. But if you see this weekend any more players said to be on waivers or released, that's the reason why, is because by September 1st, you got to join up. I mean, think if the Twins were in a situation where this season had gone the way we were hoped instead of the way it actually went, and, you know, Ty France and Cody Clemens were still playing first base for them, and the Guardians had fallen out and had released Carlos Santana, I could see a scenario where the Twins are like,
Right.
all right, minimum deal, Carlos Santana, join us for the playoffs.
He can't hit much worse than those two, and he brings the glove. Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
So we'll see if he latches on. The other old friend that I noticed, I saw Kepler was playing right field for the Phillies for one of the rare times this season. He is also having the worst season of his career. He's hitting .216 with a .674 OPS for the Phillies, despite being platooned pretty heavily, and now platooned with Harrison Bader. And I thought, you know, we were kind of curious because it became clear, I would say, a couple years in advance, but certainly a couple months in advance, that the Twins were not going to make any real effort to re-sign Max Kepler as a free agent this past offseason. Like, it was, okay, you know, fair, good career. Let's break up amicably here.
But also we thought we were trading you 3 other off seasons.
Yeah, right. So, and Gleeman wrote that 1,000 times, and we didn't want to make him happy by trading him. Right. And we were, I think, at the beginning of the offseason, we were like trying to guess what we thought he would get as a free agent. And he ended up getting a 1-year, $10 million deal, which is essentially the exact salary he played his final. I think he made 10.5 with the Twins in his last year. And so now he's a year older. I think he's 31 now, 30. And the defensive numbers aren't as good. The bat is as bad as it's ever been. I wonder, like, is he going to get a major league contract this upcoming offseason? Because he's going to be a free agent, obviously. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that during the offseason. Yeah. But it's interesting for all the, you know, there's always so much emphasis on, oh, this guy left the Twins and then he went and was amazing somewhere. Right. I mean, that's what that's what we tend to talk about. That's what headlines tend to talk about. That's the, you know, the David Ortiz factor. Right. There's also just some examples of, like, Kepler kept trending in this bad direction
at the right time. Well, maybe even a little late. Right. Yeah,
so yeah, that was that. We talked about speaking of the Phillies, we talked about the Twins playing the Phillies in August in Iowa next year for the MLB Field of Dreams game. I've never been so certain that John and Chrissy Bonus will be going somewhere in my entire life as I am for that. But we kind of talked more about that on the Patreon side. I think
we'll actually be going to watch the Twins play the Phillies this year. The last
Philly,
weekend of September. Yeah. So
yeah. I'm trying. They're trying to talk me into that. They being my girlfriend, and because she's going, I think, with you guys.
I think so too. Yeah.
Your new daughter, Becky. But I'm thinking about it. I like Philly.
Philly's great.
I had 2 thoughts about that, though. One, John Sickme as is. I don't know that he needs another weekend spent with me in his adopted hometown.
That's a fair point. Very solid point.
Right. So I'm right about that. And then also the Twins end on the road, obviously. So their last home game's like September 22nd or something like that. September 21st, day after your daughter's wedding, right? versus Cleveland. My feeling is, given the way this season has gone for me and the Twins and just my overall mindset, that's when I want to be done with this season. You know what I mean? Like that Cleveland game on the 21st, which is like a Sunday. Mentally, I'm going to check out for that. Like, we'll see what happens on that road trip. So we'll see. But Iowa, John will be there
for sure.
I guess I could go, but my fear is I've said so many negative jokes at the expense of Iowa over the years.
Yeah, you don't want that heat. You don't want that smoke, Mr. Gleeman.
Yeah, this might be a thing where I'm at like the border and they stop the car and they're like, "We've been waiting for you, Mr. Gleeman.
Like, come on in,
man. Yeah, make yourself at home."
My bait for you to come to Philadelphia is, as much as I know you like the Nick's pork sandwich, which I think you said straight up is the best sandwich you've ever had
at the what is it, Reading Terminal Market?
Reading Terminal Market.
Yeah.
I think there's even a better pork sandwich in Philadelphia, in South Philly. John's roast pork sandwiches in South Philadelphia, which their cheesesteaks are consistently ranked in the top 5, but I think their pork sandwiches are, well, I mean, they named it after the pork sandwiches.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. Yeah. I'm willing to try as many pork sandwiches as I need to try to find a winner. That's the promise I can make to you. That's my campaign promise to you. I mean, it's not that I don't like Philly cheesesteaks. I love Philly cheesesteaks. Actually, the second best sandwich I've ever had in my life was every year when I would go to spring training in Arizona as a kid. There was a place called Greasy Tony's in Scottsdale, and it was a Philly transplant.
Oh, okay.
Moved to Scottsdale, and I would get a 36 light onions, which was they had 50 different kinds of cheesesteaks, and I'd never had a cheesesteak before.
So you're not even wit or wit out, just light.
Light.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't want it to dominate, but I want I mean, you can't get it without onions, right? Like, and that's the second best sandwich until I had gone to Philadelphia. That was the best sandwich I ever had. I like the Philly cheesesteaks, and then I also just thought that would be some good bonus content where we just waddle our way around Philadelphia, trying the best Philly cheesesteaks and the best roast porks. But then I thought, does anybody really want to watch us eat? The two of us specifically. I don't want to watch anybody eat. But does anybody really want to watch us scarf down with all the sounds and the sights that come along with that?
The reality is you're self-conscious about people watching you eat anyway, right?
Yeah, I just don't know that I need to record it and put it out as a content-driven thing where it's like you just hear me.
We could have one of those speed eating contests, like who can finish the roast pork. Your roast pork sandwich versus my Philly cheesesteak. Who can finish it first?
Yeah. And then check in 6 hours later to see we're on the floor of the hotel. Whatever.
Begging for death.
Yeah. The sweet release of death. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Sandwiches. There's got to be a good, what's the best in the Twin Cities? I'm not going to, it ain't the culinary capital of the world, but we got some pretty good food here. There's got to be like what's the best pork sandwich in the Twin Cities and what's the best cheesesteak in the Twin Cities. I'm sure you've attempted to eat most of the cheesesteaks.
We've tried to do the cheesesteak.
Is there one that like really stands out to you?
Chrissy would tell you no.
Right, because she's from Philly. But how good would one have to be for her to be like, this is as good as Philly? I mean, I feel like it would have to come with a $500 inside of it for her to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that the difference between Philadelphia and first of all, any place where the default cheesesteak, Philly cheesesteak, has green peppers is not, you don't trust them. You can't trust them.
It's just meat, cheese, and onion, right? Like that's the original.
Yeah, that's right.
Even
wit or wit out is the onions, right? Either wit or wit out.
And some water. Give me some water.
Yeah, that's right. So if it's got default green peppers, by definition, she's just like, I don't even want to try it. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the big difference is the bread, and she just has had trouble here finding good bread. I'll be honest with you. We've had a bunch of places where it's like, yeah, pretty good, but not the best bread, or pretty good, but not the best. There's, I think, and she hasn't tried this, there's a food truck down by US Bank Stadium during the weekdays that has a pretty good one. But she hasn't tried it yet, so we'll have to.
You're our friend, I think, listener, maybe Sam Bergman, once brought Philly cheesesteak bread to Iron Door Pub for an Eagles playoff game.
Yep.
And I remember that being a big hit. And I'm pretty sure you guys forced the chefs at Iron Door we used to know Chef Jeff at Outdoor to make us
Yeah.
make you guys Philly cheesesteaks on the bread you brought to the place.
That's exactly right. And this food truck, I'm pretty sure, uses Amoroso rolls, which is a Philadelphia roll and it's hard to get outside of Philadelphia. So I think that's sort of the standard bear.
Well, to anybody out there, John and I, we do barbecue buddies.
Yeah.
What was the last one we went to? It was in Coon Rapids.
Jelly Bean and Julia, or Julian Jelly Bean, something like that.
Jelly
Bean.
Coon Rapids. Really good.
Yeah.
We could temporarily put the barbecue buddies on hold to kind of really focus on other fat boy opportunities, which is to say roast pork sandwiches and Philly cheesesteaks.
Right.
If somebody out there, either just a fan or a restaurant owner, wants to chime in here in the comments or send us an email or something on Twitter and give us some kind of official invite, or at least make it sound tempting enough that we can't stop ourselves.
Sure.
I'm willing, is what I'm saying.
Good.
I'm willing to test some Philly cheesesteaks and
GleemanandGeek@gmail.com.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And then the last thing on that, speaking of chiming in, I put a survey, a Twins fan survey on The Athletic. It'll be up until Monday at 9 a.m. I think we're taking it down, where I think there's 12 questions, something like that. It's real quick. It'll take you 3 minutes to answer. It's kind of an opportunity, Twins fans, to chime in, give their opinion, vent, whatever. It's a lot of, what grade would you give this person? What grade would you give that? What was your favorite deadline move? What was your least favorite? State of the team type of questions. And the goal is we're going to collect all the data, which my editor told me there's already 6,000 responses.
Really?
Which is kind of incredible. We're going to collect the data, and then I'm going to write it up as more of a big picture thing. So if you haven't done that yet, go chime in. I know our friend Dana Wessel told me that he, in the write-in phase, told me he blamed me for all of the Twins' troubles on multiple questions.
That's right.
No,
if you'd been more supportive,
yes.
Quit going after those players that give you nice quotes.
Mm-hmm. And those lovely owners.
Or even worse, don't even write about them. The tweets. It's the tweets that are the real problem.
Yes. It always comes back to the tweets. Okay, so go take that, and we'll be back
next
well,
week.
Monday, Tuesday. We'll see how the weekend
We're
goes.
looking at maybe getting it's going to be the Patreon day. We'll be back for the free show next Friday. We'll probably be doing one, maybe two Patreons. We're not sure whether we're going to be doing Labor Day. We might be getting a special guest, so stay tuned on that. Patreon.com/Gleeman. We'd love to have you join us. We want to thank.
We might be busy just eating sandwiches.
Well,
honestly,
that might be. I am terrifically hungry right now. This whole conversation has made me.
Do you think anything's open at 9:45 a.m. on a
I
Friday?
don't know, but I'm on my way.
We're just waiting outside, knocking at a door. Like, we open at 1 o'clock. What do you want from me? Anyway, thank you to our sponsors also who make this show free.
That's right.
As opposed to the Patreon one.
That's Hims Hair, Prize Picks, RotoWire, and a special thank you to Black Stack Brewing. They're now being distributed to all of greater Minnesota and also the other places that I mentioned, Wisconsin and Iowa and the Dakotas and Arizona and all kinds of places. So stop by your favorite liquor store or the Black Stack Tap Room and grab your favorite brew or try something new.
Okay, let's go find some sandwiches.
Goodbye. All right, bye-bye. And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
Or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.
Cleveland.